Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I am here with my first process video for how to kill a kit with style. This is my first layout that I am doing with my January kit. If you want to see that, I will link it in the description when I go over everything I decide to use for this month. But this is Felicity Jane's Hannah kit, and I decided I would just jump in with my favorite papers. A lot of the times I try and hoard my favorite papers. But because I have 1 month to try and use as much of this kit as possible, I decided I would just go for it. I was obsessed with this wood grain. I really loved the scallop, and I feel like they really go well together. So that's where I am starting. I know I want to use that wood grain as my background, so I'm just cutting a pretty good chunk of the scallop to use as a border to go across the top of the page. This page is date night, so Marcus had never been to Movie Tavern. I'd only been one time before, but it was pretty cool because it's like a restaurant and you order your food and they serve you while you're in the movie theater, which you would think would be distracting, but it's really not that bad. We just went to see, I think it was Deadpool 2, so it wasn't a super serious movie that you like couldn't be distracted from, but it was super cool, so we enjoyed ourselves. So I just decided to scrapbook that. Most of the pictures I'm using for this kit I chose just because the colors in the photos went the best. So yeah, that's why I went with this one, that you have that wood grain paneling in the background of the movie theater, and I'm wearing that maroon shirt, so that's basically why I chose that photo. It is kind of dark. I went with, for some reason, I know Felicity Jane is a very beautiful kit, and it's often used with white. It's very bright, very fresh. I don't know why I can't seem to do that. I always gravitate towards the dark colors, and the bright, the super colorful ones are the ones I seem to gravitate towards. So I needed something to freshen it up, so I matted that photo in some white. And I'm going to try and pull in a few other elements that kind of help it brighten up, because I saw right away it was going very dark and muted tones. So I'm going with this pink solid paper from the kit. I went ahead and cut off that border strip. I know I'm going to use that scallop at some point. And then you saw me pre-gut that paper. I just want to use this paper as a mat for that photo, but I'm trying to be very cognizant. You see there I also cut off the wood grain that would be covered. I'm trying to gut absolutely everything I can. If it's going to be covered by another paper, I want to save whatever's going to be hidden. That way I can use it on another page. So I'm being very frugal, especially in the beginning of this kit, just so I have these pattern papers to tuck in here and there as I get later on in this month and the papers start to dwindle. So yeah, I pre-cut a frame out of that colored paper. That way I at least have that for another layout. And then that way I kind of freed up the middle of that chunk to use for punching, matting, that kind of thing, which I'm doing here. You also saw in the beginning, I went ahead and cut the branding strips off of all of the pattern papers. Usually I'll keep those on until I use the paper, but for the purpose of this month, I'm trying to use all these papers. I want to have everything at my disposal, which is why you see I already pulled out all of the embellishments. That way they are ready to use. I can grab them. So I have all of it ready. So you guys know I'm trying to use the stamps this month. I thought it would be really cool to do some white embossing on this dark wood grain. I thought that would look super sharp and clean. But I chickened out, so I just had a feeling I was going to mess up, and I could not mess up on this one. So I decided I would test it out on some vellum first. At this point, I'm still thinking I'm going to try and do it on the wood grain, but my first attempt didn't go so well, and then I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it on the vellum and then incorporate it on the page. That way I don't have a chance of messing up the wood grain. But I know where that photo is going to go, so again I'm gutting that piece that's going to be covered up by my mat. And then I decided I would do some white mixed media. Again, I just needed to add some white because it is so dark. I wanted something that would keep it kind of fresh. There we go. I really feel like between that and this white doily and adding that light pink, that tulle bow, it's all super dainty light details that I feel like really sweeten the page up. So I think I did okay, guys. I did some mixed media. I used one of those tags. I used a label. I did some stamping. So I think I'm doing all right with what I said I wanted to do this month with this kit. These chipboard hearts here I pulled in, that's the only thing I could get from the Reagan kit. It actually, I think it's still only $1 at the Felicity Jane shop. But I pulled out both of the pink hearts from those chipboard hearts because they coordinated really, really well. So I thought I would use those on this page as well. I'm definitely not limiting myself to this kit during this month. I want to use as much of it as possible, but I'm allowing myself to supplement with whatever I feel like I need to make the page. So I can pull in doilies, mixed media, these chipboard hearts from the Reagan kit, whatever I want to use. Just so long as the end of the month comes, I use as much of this kit up as possible. I'll be happy. And then here I flipped that scalloped border on the other side because that was a double-sided colored paper so it's this lighter pink. And I'm just going to fussy cut the scallop to use underneath that photo. Again, I'm trying to save as much of it as possible, so I just cut a short piece and I'm going to use a little bit on the other side so it looks like a longer piece, but really it's just that little piece there. There we go. So I just decided I would stretch the vellum, the label, and that banner across to the other side of the photo. It was looking a little too bare with all of this stuff on the right side of the photo. And then here I'm going with my second attempt for my embossing powder. So this one was going really well. The stamping turned out good. The embossing turned out fine. And then I decided I would try and cut it into a tab. And so I'm just using my corner rounder to try and cut to the top two corners of that to make a little tab looking thing, but it just I don't think I had it straight in the punch or something because I cut it wonky, so I'm redoing it again. This time seems to work out okay. It doesn't look like the cute little tabs I wanted them to look like, but I think it was close enough for what I wanted. That's the stamp that says all part of my story. I'm happy enough with that one, so I'm going to leave it like that. I got some stamping on a page, so I am happy. So now I'm going for my title. I pretty much knew I was going to call this Date Night, and then I'll do some journaling to add a little bit to that, but I thought Date Night was a sweet little title. It is kind of tricky with these epoxy letters because they are a little translucent, so I knew with them being this light pink going over the wood grain would make them look a lot darker. So it does turn out pretty subtle. I think you can see it really well here, at least with it going over the vellum. Definitely readable. You just can't see that beautiful blush color that it truly is. But I know I'll be able to use those letter stickers on a bunch of layouts this month, so I'm not too worried about how they look on this specific one. I still think it looks nice. I decided to add a few more chipboard hearts in a few other areas, and then I'm here with the enamel hearts. I really thought these were the first embellishments that would be gone because I love those. I thought they would be on every layout and it would be the first thing I run out of. But honestly, after I put these Reagan chipboard hearts on, I really didn't think they were necessary. I thought it would kind of be repetitive. So I actually didn't use any, which was interesting. But I just did my journaling there, and then I just thought it looked a little unbalanced with the big scallop at the top, and then that pattern isn't anywhere else. So I decided I would cut a smaller scallop section for the bottom. And I don't know if I'm just late to the party or if everyone knew this except for me, but cutting the scallop the way I just did, going like down into the sharp part instead of around the hump. I don't know if I'm even explaining that right, but if you saw how I cut the first chunk of the scallop versus how I just cut this piece, it was like way easier cutting it how I just did versus how I did in the beginning. But you saw me use my Tim Holtz Distress tool. I was just distressing the edges because the cuts weren't terribly smooth, and that really helps disguise it. But I'm happy with how it turned out. I think I used a good bit of stuff from the stash. I still have a lot to work with, so I'm excited to see how we go. Thanks for watching. Bye.